Hope you had a good NFT.NYC so far. I'm sure everyone's seated after lunch, enjoying a bit of downtime. I wanted to get a show of hands. Who's actually been in a metaverse, an open metaverse like Decentraland, Spatial, or others? Okay, awesome. And of the people who have, how many of you have actually signed in with MetaMask, or how many of you versus coming in as a guest? Okay, that's great. So I'm preaching to the choir here. That's awesome. There's a number of numbers that have come out. The most recent was Citibank referring to the metaverse as the next iteration of the internet and a $13 trillion opportunity. Just keep in mind that's 15% of global GDP, and I'll get to why that even makes sense in a bit. So what exactly is the metaverse? I'm going to do a little bit of an intro before I get into where brands fit in. The metaverse is a persistent virtual world where you interact, socialize, do work, play games, and there's two different ways that you can go with it. One is a parallel world, which is not the real world, and the other is an extension of the real world. And I'm going to throw a couple of metaverse concepts in here that not everyone agrees with, but I kind of think, we're on Twitter or Discord, we're in virtual worlds, we haven't met in real life, and we're communicating as PFPs. Maybe we are already in metaverses every day. Other parallel worlds are like Minecraft, Roblox, etc. Examples, as I mentioned, Discord, but also, where you're watching screens like, Fortnite, watching Marshmallow in Fortnite, and this was a couple of years ago. What's Metaverse 2? The Metaverse that Zuck's talking about, the Metaverse that we're all thinking about, the open Metaverse, etc. In an extension of the real world, it's what Facebook has been doing already with Horizon Workrooms, and then parallel worlds. The movie Ready Player One is a great example of what you could be doing in real life and then doing outside your real life at the same time. Example is that Horizon Rooms there. And so now I'm getting to where the NFTs fit in, is open metaverses. Open metaverses are interoperable metaverses, eventually, where you can transport assets from one metaverse to another. And it's obviously easier on a blockchain where assets can potentially transfer across chains and across environments. If you imagine in a future where you could move houses from Minecraft into Decentraland and take your virtual assets and your clothes and your virtual car, etc., with you. So where do NFTs fit in? NFTs, in my view, are the building blocks of open metaverses. And the ones that are the pieces of the puzzle that are coming together now are avatars, the land itself, clothes, wearables, game assets, keys, tickets, passes, and then other things that people are making like cars. And so examples of that, what you own is an NFT, and that could be a building like Samsung's A37X in Decentraland. Who you are, that's my mutant, so I had to throw it up there as a flex. And what you can do, can be accessed in the metaverse as well. So those three things are real building blocks for what we're doing in the metaverses. So how do we get to 13 trillion? I mean, that's a lot of building blocks, right? I mean, if we've got metaverses that are performing everything that we could do in real life, whether it's a meeting, whether it's representing something that's an extension of the real world or a parallel world, that's a ton of building blocks. And if we're building them, in this community right now, there's potential that we're capturing a decent fraction of that 13 trillion, opportunity just with what we're building as building blocks. So it's a significant opportunity being here in NFTs and how it translates into these future worlds that we're creating. So how do brands get started? Well, I think you might have seen Zuck's presentation where he represented that it's 1,000x too early in terms of chip processing speed to have truly virtual immersive experiences So we're not there yet. And I think everyone would note who's been in Decentraland or other metaverses, it's still a little janky. It still feels like you're watching a screen rather than you're inside it. And when you do get to the point where there are environments, VR environments that you're able to get inside, you know, it doesn't always feel like it's a real experience that people are in. So, you know, there's a ways to go. But we've got to start somewhere, and everyone in this room, you know, is a potential early adopter, you know, building something in the metaverse that could potentially, you know, accelerate them as the chip processing speed, you know, gets to where we want it to be. What we can do right now, and what people are doing right now, and that's where we're getting to on the brand activations, you can drop or sell avatars that are metaverse ready, open a venue or gallery, sell wearables or drop wearables, launch an event, stream video content, launch a game. Those are the key things that seem to be available for people right now. And I'm hitting time, so I'm going to go a little bit quicker here. In terms of what we do, Moonwalk, you know, we're launching a metaverse as a service, which means you can just, you know, click, drop down, choose your event, choose your venue, change your venue, calendar your event, get in there and launch something without having to go through the 3-month process of dealing with a builder, dealing with a process, dealing with which room do I want to unlock, which venue, which NFT is going to be useful. It's just a no-code solution that we've created, and we're launching soon. It's private beta right now. A couple of things we do. You can launch a collection, a generative collection, no-code, on various layers. You know, you can import a venue or use one of ours. This is the beautiful Sotheby's gallery in Decentraland. And then you can drop the keys that will enable you to access different pieces of the building or the scene, gated. So if you've got a Bored Ape, you could say, hey, well, we're going to give you access to VIP room number 2. If you've got a Cool Cat, VIP room number 1, and your own NFT could give you general access, for example. But you could plug and play and do everything you want. So that's us, and that's the metaverse, and at a high level. I hope this was helpful and giving you a good idea as to, you know, what's available, what the timeline is, what the opportunity set is, you know, in this massive new world that we're going to be participating in.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's about it. You know, where we're working right now, Decentraland, Terra Virtua. You know, next up we're in Spatial and Sandbox. Those are the ones we enjoy and we appreciate and we think are easy to work in or will be, but super open to other stuff as well. Thanks again for your time, guys. Have the rest of the trip.
Thank you so much. You can bring your mic and click it just that way. Thank you so much, Shiv. Yep, my first experience with the metaverse was actually in Deggy World, a smaller private metaverse, and I was speaking on a panel with a 13-year-old named Nick Small. I don't know if anyone knows Nick Small, but he is awesome. Gary loves him, and that was just my experience. I was like, wow, so this is life. Next, we have someone, Mike, coming to talk to us about how to build a marketplace for your brand NFTs. He's worked with Adidas, LVMH, really cool people. Let you take it away.
Hey, everybody. Oh, that's loud. Love it. Thanks. I'm Mike Goverman, Vice President Business Development for Bitski. Been around a really long time and been doing this, I think, as long as anybody. And what I'm going to talk about today is if you're a brand, if you're a creator, if you work with brands as an agency, how you can be really successful. We have made a lot of mistakes. We had a lot of successes along the way working with different organizations, and we're going to share some tips and tricks, go through a couple case studies, and hopefully learn a little bit together. I think the key thing that I would want to impress upon people is to really just get back to fundamentals first. There's so much excitement in the space. There's always new technology, and people can get a little lost in that, thinking that NFTs are a magic solution to all of their problems. Anyone who's been in the space know that that's not always the case, and there's a lot to learn. There's a lot that is really difficult, and there's always so much promise too. And so it's really about balancing those expectations. I think the most important thing is to understand that NFTs are not necessarily something that you want to take in a different direction than what your core business is, right? Understand who you are as a creator, as a brand, and focus on that strength and use NFTs to strengthen what you're already doing. Find those KPIs. So when you're going to your CEO, to your boss, to your client, don't say we're going to do this new thing over here. Think about what are our existing goals for this year, whether those are KPIs, metrics, revenue, whatever it might be, and we're going to design a program that helps advance and amplify that rather than something over here on the side. That's number one. And the second piece is that every business has their own cadence. And you want to say, okay, what are those key moments that our audience, that our business already knows and plans around, and how are we going to do NFTs in and around those, rather than trying to do this one-off, and we're going to try to do it in 2 weeks, and we hope it works, right? We see that all the time. And so I think a really interesting case study here, this is one we did with AMC Theaters. The artist is John Shelley, 061, who did art for Marvel and others. And that's exactly what we did here. You know, this was around the time when theaters were starting to reopen post-COVID. They're trying to get people back in theaters. And we attached NFT utility and NFT benefits, discounts, things like that, to the existing gift cards. And so we were able to say, you're already measuring your gift card sales. Let's look at the increase in sales. And it was massively successful from that perspective. And so they already are looking at the data in a certain way. And it's very easy to say, here's your baseline. Here's what we did. And look, it really worked. And so it was tied into what they were already doing. They felt comfortable doing that. And it was a way to extend their existing program rather than inventing something new out of whole cloth. Here's another one. We did this recently. If there's any F1 fans in the room, I'm sure. This was at the Miami Grand Prix a few months ago. And Red Bull came to us. And I think the really important thing was that, you know, everyone's coming at this from a different place. The most important thing is that people come and like, we want to do NFTs. And it's like, great, what do you want to do? And what you really have to do is educate yourself a little bit. You'd be surprised, or maybe you're not, by how many people talk like they know about NFTs and have yet to try one. So we can fix that later in the talk, hint, hint. But the key thing there is that you got to do a little bit of education, a little bit of research, understand what your competitors or other companies in your space are doing in and around NFTs and Web3. Red Bull was an incredible client to work with. They came in, they knew exactly what they had wanted to do. They didn't know exactly how to get there, and that's what companies like myself help with. But they really had a vision for where they wanted to take their brand in a very specific way. And they, I think most importantly, knew what they did and did not want to do. And so we were able to work with that to really build a program for them that made them happy, that reflected their brand well. And most importantly, they were able to say, here is what really matters to us, and then bring in those NFT experts to say, okay, here's how we make that happen from a technical perspective, from a marketing perspective, and make it a really seamless program. This was a cool one. This was a series of basically live event passes to some exclusive events that they had. So this is, again, talk about real world utility. You had to have this pass to get into these exclusive concerts, events, sessions, things like that, in and around the race. Here is another cool one. Everyone says, oh, the roadmap's coming, or benefits coming soon. But I would encourage you to take that next step and really start to plan it out. Even if it's at a high level, having that plan that you can communicate, really, really critical. But what everyone wants to know is, like, how do I leave the door open to continue experimenting? And that's that fine line that you have to balance. The key thing is that when you're buying into like a pass type situation, which we're seeing increasingly as NFTs become used for loyalty passes, membership rewards, things like that, that there has to be something on day one that will really, really encourage the fan or the buyer to come in and get something right then and there. We see so many of these passes that say, oh, in the future you will get something, but today you don't get anything. And so we worked with this client, Fossil Watches, and their Misfit brand, and they came up with a Founders Pass, which is one of the first times they've ever offered early and exclusive access to buy their new watches. They have a rabid fan base for these watches, and they were able to incent their fans with this pass to get them something that they really wanted, which was the exclusive access. And then from there, they've designed both a series of experiments as well as benefits to these pass holders. So from the fan perspective, hey, I love this brand. I get something that nobody else gets. And most importantly, I can show it off early, get that clout, get that FOMO going. And from the brand perspective, they are now so much closer to their fan. And that's really that win-win scenario that we find works the best with one of these programs, right? When we think about Web3, what are we really doing? We're setting up a more level playing field between the fan and the creator. And if you can create that condition for win-win scenario, everyone's going to walk away from it feeling really, really great about it. And they're both parties are going to want to double down, keep it going. That feeds into the roadmap, and that's really both the start and the continuation of a successful program. If you really want to get technical and nerdy, here's kind of exactly what we do, right? No secrets here. You got to start at the top, really working hard. This is all about execution, right? Plan, get it really ready, have an amazing marketplace built out. Increasingly, what we're seeing is that the public marketplaces are a great place for discovery, but larger brands, creators with an actual fan base, not necessarily an audience, but a fan base, an engaged fan base, they should have a private marketplace that they own and control, but the NFTs need to be interoperable, right? So we're talking about a place that I have fully branded that feels like my brand with the right UI and UX that speaks to my fans and my fans only. But at the end of the day, it's going into a wallet that works everywhere. These are tokens on a frankly, a mainstream chain, something like Ethereum or Polygon, that works everywhere. And I have both that experience that is branded and feels right with the brand, but then is highly interoperable with the rest of this growing Web3 ecosystem. It's critical. And then the next piece, of course, is marketing. And really what we see, and this is what Bitsky builds and specializes in, are those marketing tools that get people onboarded, get them their first wallet, get it ready, give them maybe an NFT for free first before you start to sell stuff to build that community and know you can activate on them before you go to the on sale. From there, you really have to understand the wallet. Everything happens in the wallet. We'll talk about the wallet in just a minute. And post-sale, how do we keep people engaged, right? Some of it are more standard traditional remarketing techniques. Hey, we have people with this wallet. Are we going to do something like an airdrop and token-gated access? Are we going to move back into Web 2 to reactivate them on something like an Instagram? And then increasingly, what is our metaverse or in-game strategy? Are we doing something in the sandbox to reach that top-of-funnel audience? Are we doing something in-game or with game characters? We recently did a program with Blondish, the DJ, and we worked with her in the sandbox. And so everyone who went to her concert got a playable character of her that worked in the sandbox. Really, really cool. Did it for free, and her audience really loved it because now they can have something, not just a POAP to take away from that event, but an actual playable character that they have forever, right? So if you want to try it out, if you don't have a wallet, it's okay. Scan the code. You'll get your first NFT. This is a product called Bitsky Drop Links. And what that enables you to do as a creator or as brand is to send a single URL, and that opens a multi-chain wallet. It's on web, it's on iOS, works everywhere you want, and the user never has a cold open experience. They get their first NFT as part of that wallet experience. Thank you very much.